How do Christians practice evangelism in a culture that frowns on proselytizing? In the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 9 verses 19 to 23, we see Apostle Paul's use of his freedom. Though I am free and belong to no one, I have made myself a slave to everyone, to win as many as possible. To the Jews I became like a Jew, to win the Jews. To those under the law, I became like one under the law, though I myself am not under the law, so as to win those under the law. To those not having the law, I became like one not having the law, though I am not free from God's law, but am under Christ's law, so as to win those not having the law. To the weak I became weak, to win the weak. I have become all things to all people, so that by all possible means I might save some. I do all this for the sake of the gospel, that I may share in its blessings. Ever since Jesus charged his disciples to go and make disciples of all nations, Christians have understood that it's our privilege and responsibility to share the gospel. The early Christians obeyed this charge in a culture that frowned on proselytizing even more than our own culture does. When Peter and John were threatened and commanded by the Jewish authorities to stop preaching, they responded by saying, "We must obey God rather than human beings." Despite the consequences, our commitment today should be no less than theirs was. The charge to proclaim the gospel in a culture that frowns on doing so requires both courage and sensitivity. Paul modeled both of these qualities when he preached to the Athenians at the Areopagus. In that sermon, he showed remarkable fluency in Greek literature and religion, communicating the unchanging gospel of Jesus Christ in a way that the Athenians could understand and appreciate. At the same time, he didn't shrink from proclaiming the resurrection, a doctrine that flew in the face of their preconceived ideas and philosophical commitments. When sharing the gospel, we, like Paul, must be mindful of our culture, yet never shrink away from those eternal truths that may rub people the wrong way. And we must always season our words with acts of compassion so that unbelievers may see our good deeds and glorify our Father in heaven. Paul's wise counsel to the Colossians sums it up best. Be wise in the way you act toward outsiders. Make the most of every opportunity. Let your conversation be always full of grace, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how to answer everyone.